completed this boot processing. It is a simple one. Again, it is 15-20 minutes part only. The next part is little larger one. The boot processing is this part again a little larger one. But if you are here boot processing correctly, so second process is about troubleshooting. But both the times it will repeat the same process. Okay. So what is a boot processing? It's a simply process of booting your system. Exactly say simple. What is a boot processing? It's a process of it's a step-by-step process of booting the system. Again, what is a booting? Powering on the system. Like you have a laptop or a desktop. You press the power button. After some time, you got the login screen and you log in. You given a there is a user like you given a password or username password is given. Then after 1 or 2 minutes, so you can start working. You can open some application or you can open some document. You can start working on your system. So between this, like you power on your system and you can start working on it. In between in the system, there is a step-by-step process will happen. Okay, a step-by-step process will happen. What is that process? That step-by-step process, which we call it as boot processing. Okay, so what is a boot processing? Is a step-by-step process of power on your system to the user can start. User gets a screen to start working. Or you can say boot processing is a process of system starting from the power on. Okay, how system is started. The process is called a boot processing. So any which ways you can able to tell without diverting the actual meaning. Okay, so it is a process of system starting. Okay. So here it involves few of the steps. Some people write 6 steps, some people write 4 steps, some people write 5 steps like that. It's a purely depends upon you how what is the steps. What is the first step is post step. Always it is post step. Power on self test. What is power on? So first you have to go to this. This is our cabinet. Inside your cabinet, you have a motherboard. On motherboard, you have a CPU, RAM, BIOS, SMPS power supply is connected here. CD, DVD, hard disk, front panel connections, and main power supply and monitor, keyboard, mouse. All these are all connected. Main supply is on, and we press the power button here. So when you press the power button, what will happen? The SMPS is active. The SMPS will give a power supply to your motherboard and other peripherals to the keyboard. Sorry, yeah, of course, from the motherboard to keyboard and mouse and hard disk and CD DVD. And from the motherboard, also directly it is giving CPU, RAM, and other components on the motherboard. First, it is distribute the power supply to the components which is connected to your motherboard and to the SMPS also. Hard disk is directly connected to SMPS and okay, like that. So when you press the power button, first is power is distributed and your system will test itself to make sure that all the primary components working on that. The system test itself to make sure all primary components like a CPU, RAM, motherboard, on motherboard components or chipsets working on that. So that we call it as a post. Some people believe post is a program. Guys, post is not a program, it is an acronym. So when you given a power supply means when you press the power button, the first thing is happen is post. What is a post? Power on self test. What is mean by power on self test? System itself test to make sure that all the primary components working or not. CPU, RAM, motherboard, on motherboard components working or not. Power distribution to the motherboard components, okay, working or not. So this is post. Just understand post.
Yes.
Next it is,
Yes.
okay, post is successful, then it is go for the next steps. Post is failure. It means it's a boot failure and you have to do the troubleshooting. The BIOS is nothing but a firmware helps to do this post operation. Already we discussed points there. BIOS helps to the post operation. BIOS during the post operation only it recognize the hardware devices and their details, right? So BIOS is also helps to do this post operation. Okay. What is the second step? First step is post operation to make sure that all the primary components like a CPU, your RAM, and your motherboard and motherboard components like audio chips, video chips, on motherboard, south bridge, north bridge, all these things are working on that. That is post. Power on self test is completed. What is the second step? In BIOS, you have a boot priority. So according to the boot priority, it boot priority means a list of boot priority means list of OS devices. Means OS content, possible OS content devices like a maybe it is a CD-ROM, maybe it is a hard disk or pen drive or network like this. It's a list of devices is there in the boot priority. So what your system is doing, try to find bootable device, connected bootable device. First, it will go to each and every bootable device. Try to find a record called a MBR record. What is this MBR record? This MBR record contains information about a bootloader. Information about a bootloader. What is MBR? Master boot record. Depends upon the hard disk. So the okay and your firmware, it can be MBR or GPT. Guys, this is on the your storage devices. Either it is can be MBR or a GPT. So whatsoever it is, guys, it contains information about your disk, about your partitions, about your bootloader. If in case bootloader is there, that information is there. Means if it is a bootable drive, so it contains bootloader. So bootloader location information is available under MBR record. So what it is? As per the boot priorities, system is trying to locate which where is the operating system with the help of MBR record of those devices. So first it load a MBR and check the MBR record for a bootloader. Once it is locate the bootloader, it load the bootloader. So bootloader will tell us how to load operating system and where is an operating system. Once again, we'll go back. Finding a MBR record based on your boot priority, find a MBR record. MBR record tells where is bootloader. What is a bootloader? Bootloader is a simple file which is contains information about a location of operating system and how to load operating system. Okay, where is an operating system and how to load OS will tell by your bootloader only. And this bootloader name is different from one operating system to another operating system. If you go to Windows XP, NTLDR. If you go to Windows 7, it is Bootmgr. If you go to Linux, it can be GRUB or LILO. So different operating system having different types of bootloader. You have Windows 10, a Bootmgr, Windows 11, Bootmgr, Windows 8, Bootmgr. I write in Windows 7 means from Windows Vista 7 onwards, it's a Bootmgr only. Currently, we are using Bootmgr as a bootloader. So what is the third step? From boot MBR record, we try to find where is the bootloader. And this bootloader will tell where is operating system and how to load OS. And OS also from based on the different operating system, different mode of loading is there. So that's why how to load OS means which mode of OS we should load it. Okay. Now finally, OS is loaded. OS is loaded, you got a login screen and user logins. Once user is login, there is a startup applications or startup services, okay, will run. Okay. So application related services or startup applications will start automatically. What is the startup application? You can see there is a startup tab. These are an application which is having enabled. See, some applications are showing enabled, some are disabled. So these enabled applications will start automatically when system starts. Whenever you log in, automatically these applications will start. Even in the services, there is certain applications showing running. It means certain applications will start automatically whenever you start your PC and whenever you log into your PC also, it will able to start. Okay. So what is the first one? Post. What is second one? MBR record. What is the third one? Bootloader. What is the fourth one? Load OS and got a login screen. What is the fifth step here? It is so start of other services and application services, startup applications will start automatically. Once it is started, so you can start working on your system. Okay. And this is called a boot processing. Boot processing means you power on your system and you got a login screen, you log in and backend startups and services will start and you can start working on it. The step-by-step process happens in your system to boot your system or to turn on your system or maybe start your system to use. So that process we call it as a boot processing. Okay. So first step of a boot processing is, can anybody tell what is the first step?
POST.
Post. Very good. Power on self-test. System
Power on
test itself. Yes. Very good. Okay. System test itself to make sure all primary components working on that. Once post is successful, what is the second step?
finds for MBR record.
Find for a MBR record based on your boot priority, which is in your BIOS. Okay. Very good. So, and what is the boot MBR record contains? Bootloader information. So, what is the
Contains,
third step? Yeah. Tell me. Yeah, you can tell me.
yes, sir. It tells where the bootloader is there.
Yeah, very good. It tells where is a bootloader. So what is the use of bootloader? When you load bootloader, then what is the bootloader is telling?
Where is the OS and how to load it?
Very good. Where is the operating system and how to load the operating system. Very good. And finally, voice is loaded. You got a login screen. Once you log in, the background startup services, okay, all these things will run. Once it is completed, you can start working on your system. Very good, guys. Okay, it's the most common question. That's why. So this is another picture. There is a like for boot processing, guys. If you put a boot processing, on Windows or in Linux, anything you put it. So you will get a lot of information. Okay. But always follow a proper kind of stuff. Find out what is exactly this information. You go to the images, you'll find other type. So more better understandable way, you have to choose it. So I choose that one because of, for me it is very thing. It's a very traditional, very old picture of it also. Okay. Some are confusion. More steps are there. So that is also become additional kind of stuff. Okay. Okay. Some names are very old names also. Okay. These many big maps, it is difficult to understand. Any which ways. So I find this one, and one more is also there. You can see power on. You power on, press the power button. First is post. Next is finding a boot devices. In that one, find out a MBR or GPT record. Okay. And find out bootloader and load operating system. And it loads something system processes. User space will be loaded. And finally, you got a login screen. Once you log in, you can get it. And for Linux, of course, so there is a beautiful picture is also there. So okay, you power on. So it's a graphical kind. It's a power on. The first BIOS is active power on. BIOS detected devices. First BIOS will detect the devices in the process time of post and find out a bootable device. Loading a bootloader. Once bootloader is loaded, so it will go to this run target means what type of loading it is. In Linux, different modes are there. So which type of mode it is, it will load. Startup scripts and user login. Okay. So it will give that kind of stuff. So here I understand already post finding MBR or GPT record. From that one, you can able to find where is the bootloader. Load the bootloader. It will tell you where is operating system and how to load OS. And once OS is loaded, you got a login screen. Once you give an username password, so your user's application, startup application services, okay, will run automatically. So this is called a boot processing.